Hello and welcome back to Film Flashback, where I take a look at films and TV shows to see what makes them great or what could have made them better. I am your host MD, and this time I wanted to review the first 3 episodes of She-Hulk. Even though I've liked it so far, it's been an extremely divisive show, and I believe it's because 2 very important elements have been missing so far. But before we begin, here's your warning that there are major spoilers ahead. In my opinion, the first missing element in She-Hulk is having a division of knowledge where the audience knows information that the main character doesn't. For example, in WandaVision, we see the military presence growing around the Hex that Wanda is totally oblivious to. This creates so much tension because we see the danger that is coming for her, and that makes us as viewers more involved in what happens next. So even though the first couple of episodes were a little slow as Wanda played a housewife in a TV sitcom, it was still interesting because all of the action with Darcy trying to figure out what was going on, to Monica Rambeau trying to break into the Hex, and Director Hayward as the villain attempting to destroy her. As for She-Hulk, it's the opposite since we are learning at the same time as Jennifer Walters is. Except for the first episode where we see the flashback of her origin story, the rest of the show has us learning together. But if we saw danger lurking around the corner while she was trying to have a normal life, then that would be so much more entertaining to watch. So while Jennifer is drinking and enjoying herself, an additional scene right after with an unknown figure trying to hurt or take advantage of her would be great. The lasting image of this episode that many have been talking about is She-Hulk dancing right here after a victory in court. But right after, she's attacked by a crew carrying Asgardian weapons, and we later learn that they were trying to steal a vial of her blood. This is new information the audience knows that the main character does not. It was one of the better moments of the show because we finally get to see real conflict brewing for our hero. The character arc for Jennifer was set up in episode 1 with her speech that opened the show. Here is where she talks about the responsibility of those who have power. Should you refrain from using it or help others in need? Her arc will shift from trying to have a normal life and ignore that she is a Hulk to accepting her new powers and using them to help others. Ultimately, we know what she will choose, but it's the journey of how she gets there that makes it a great story. This begins to happen right away when Jennifer starts the episode saying she was right and Bruce was wrong about her using her powers, only to publicly out herself as a Hulk against Titania in the end. Which leads me to the second element missing: more conflict. So far, Jennifer is crushing life with her newfound powers. She's better than Bruce in so many ways since her blood healed him and she has control of when she can change. She also knocks out her opponent in her first fight as a Hulk and dominates this crew as well. Every time something bad happens to her, she quickly rebounds and moves on to the next story beat. For example, she loses her job as an attorney that she has worked so hard for, only to get a new one right away. And true, we watched her get rejected when she applied to other places, but not much screen time passes between her being fired from one job to the hiring of the new one. I think it would have been interesting to see how she handles being out of work for some time. Does she lose her house? Have to move in with family for a short time? Maybe even work temporarily a horrible job to make ends meet while she figures out her life. You can still add a ton of humor to these scenarios, but put her in more conflict to see how she responds. So here is how I would have loved to have seen She-Hulk go. Start with the opening dialogue Jennifer delivers, only to be told by the firm that the completely incompetent Dennis will make the closing arguments instead. Knowing she needs the job, she agrees and goes out for a walk to cool off. There she runs into a few creepy characters who just want to talk and has a chance to reveal her new powers in public, but instead finds a sneaky way to escape. Then Jennifer can tell us about the flashback to when she became She-Hulk, how she ended up at the bar and almost turns into a Hulk, but still doesn't when these guys come at her and Bruce comes to the rescue. Bruce can teach her the Hulk clap, but then when Jennifer insists that she has learned how to control her anger infinitely more than Bruce, I think this should really upset the Hulk inside. He is Smart Hulk because the two have learned to coexist. But what if this triggers something in the Hulk who does not like what he hears, and that forces Bruce to lose a little control? The true travesty of the entire Marvel comic universe of films is how the Hulk character has been treated. He is a far more intriguing and powerful being who has been reduced to a comedic side character. Seeing how Jennifer does not want his help and now has to deal with his own issues, from stopping the Hulk from regaining control to finding the plane from Sakaar, he reluctantly agrees to let her go with the warning that things will not be as easily as she thinks. Then fast forward to the courtroom where Dennis is about to deliver his closing remarks to the jury, and in jumps Titania. Jennifer can reluctantly agree to reveal herself only after taking a vicious hit from her. She finally turns into She-Hulk just in time to save the jury and uses the Hulk clap to take Titania out. But episode 1 ends with someone in the dark picking up a phone and saying, "Yes, it's happening just as you planned. We should have everything we need shortly." Now I think that would set up the rest of the series and her character for a far more interesting journey into becoming She-Hulk. Giving the audience more information of the danger she is in and showing us more conflict that she must overcome makes us root for her even more. I actually like my action far more serious than this show offers, but it does have some good moments. In episode 2, Jennifer is qualified for her new job but wonders if people will think she only got it because of who she is. This is something we can all relate to since we have seen plenty of people get jobs they don't deserve. I especially like the end of episode 3 when Jennifer was attacked and calmly took them out. The moment She-Hulk looked at her reflection in the window made me feel she is concerned about what's to come. How it's true that she can defend herself more now than ever, but is starting to see how her life will never be the same. And the final moment when we learn someone is trying to get her blood, I really like that moment. I hope there are more of these elements in this show moving forward. So there you have it, my review of the first 3 episodes of She-Hulk. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought of this video and this show. Also, please like and subscribe so you can watch future videos on my channel. As always, thanks for watching.